came up with that name.
Today's episode is brought to you by No Thanks to You.
Like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to see, welcome to a brand new
Captain Marcus McCunwell and crew, frequent privateers of the Royal Crown, also known on the high sea, Captain Anarchy. You and your crew stand accused of treason on the high seas against the American colonies. How do you plead for you and your crew, sir?
Yeah, you want me to tell the story right now? Candy C night on Sunday nights at Fashions. And they actually had bands and the Bullet Boys would play and stuff. And we had to dominate the dance floor as the only glam guys at that place too. And I met this smoking hot redheaded chick who was like a wild woman in the sack. Her name was Jody, and she wore a t-shirt that said Animal. She was smoking hot.
I think sex is better when you're in love. Could happen.
She ended up becoming my girlfriend. She lived in Long Beach. And Jody, albeit she was a smoking hot chick and dressed up in really rowdy, sexy clothes to go out to clubs and would put on Revlon Red shade of lipstick and paint her nails Revlon Red.
a sight to behold.
She was also the color of lipstick and nail polish that I use too sometimes. I mean, come on. During the week, Jody was like a tomboy. She would just wear jeans and a t-shirt, no makeup, and tie her hair back in a ponytail. And she knew how to work on cars. So she was the kind of girl that would jack my car up and fix my brake and then make me a sandwich and throw me on the bed and go crazy. You know what I mean? Because she was like a wild woman in the sack too, you know?
It was amazing.
The deal is, one day she came to my house and took my high school class ring and put it on her finger and said, I guess I should get to wear this since I'm your girlfriend now, right? And I was like, okay.
Made a huge mistake.
What ended up happening was her dad died, and he had property up in Green Valley or whatever it's called up in Central California. And she was totally heartbroken. She lived with her mom and the stepdad, who were like old people that had a second floor apartment. The living room was her bedroom. You know, everybody deals with grief differently. She just completely lost it and broke up with me.
That's it. We're breaking up.
I'll move with you to Grass Valley, and I'll just get a job up there. She didn't want to do that. I was pressuring her to take the relationship to another level, and I went looking for her. I knew she'd be at this club one night, because she wasn't answering my calls. I went to go confront her to get my high school class ring back, and she's sitting in a booth getting drunk with these two like Hispanic heavy metal dudes with long dark hair. She's getting ready to get double teamed, and
The extreme always seems to make an impression.
she refused to give me the ring back. Me and Nick Wicked got shit-faced drunk and high on all types of shit and drove my dot into the Z5 speed to an apartment in Long Beach. And I climbed up the outside wall. There was a skinny little like 1-inch or 2-inch pipe going up the wall. I pinched it with my fingers, but I shimmied up that pipe to the second-story window without falling and killing myself. Climbed through the open window, and I was in there rummaging through her jewelry as I'm trying to find my ring. Her stepdad comes in the room and turns the light on. He's butt naked. He opened the door, so I ran out the door and down the staircase and got in my car, and I was like, well, fuck her, fuck you too, and fuck her mom as well. And I jumped in my car all pissed off and wasted. And me and Mick Wicked made it back from Long Beach in like no time flat because I was punching it. It was literally like 157 miles an hour in my rattle trap. You know what I mean? It was crazy. Homeboy was just clutching the seat white knuckled the whole time. Move it! So I never got my ring back, and I didn't hear from her for like a year. I meet Greg Burial, and I decide we're gonna call the band Revlon Red. Throw the accent mark in there so that technically it's pronounced Revlon Red, and the makeup company can't sue us. The graphics have be like the Duran Duran, like Nagel style paintings or whatever. Like we had this French glam rock girl, and do images of like stiletto heels and red fingernail tips.
But why?
Because it's all very glammy to get the point across of why we're called that.
And then what happened?
One day I get a phone call and it's Jody, you know, and she's like, oh, I just haven't talked to you in like years, catching up. We have a little conversation. She sort of gives me a pseudo bullshit apology. In the conversation, she goes, did you ever get the band going? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. Well, so what did you decide to call the band? Well, you know how, like, you used to say if I was a good boy that you would, like, put on the red lipstick and the red high heels and paint your nails red and dress up for me and I could fool around with you in the full, hot, glammed out image. Oh, yeah. And you have to remember that at the time, Revlon had become sort of a ghetto brand. Where Wet n Wild is at now at the end of the aisle in CVS. It was the hooker makeup, and Revlon Red was specifically the color, cheap, street corner, I'll give you a blowjob for $10 type hookers.
Who the fuck is that bitch? She's with me. Who the fuck are you? I'm her husband. Well, that makes us technically related.
But you know, we were glam and we were porn.
I only wanted to prepare you.
I decided that calling the band Revlon Red, and there was a long dramatic pause. You're a fucking asshole.
Go fuck yourself.
And that was it. I never heard from Jody ever again.
Oh, snap.
So at first it was just a name, and we were just two guys with long blonde hair wearing makeup, dressed like glam rock Nazis, and wore iron cross necklaces. It had nothing to do with racism or us being actually into Nazism or anything like that. We just stole the SS uniform look and made it our own because that's a very powerful image. The Nazis had done studies about color combination.
Shut up and get to the point.
We went around telling people we were in a band called Revlon Red, but it was just a concept. It was just an idea, you know, and people loved it. Chicks ate it up. It was great. And from there, we got Kerry Highlander. He was one of the drummers in a short-lived lineup for the short-lived band LA Rocks. They had a recording or two, but he didn't actually play on any of those. He played a couple shows, and then that was it. He lived in Marina Del Rey or whatever. And then we started practicing in Playa del Rey and went through a slew of different guitar players. Gary Mossberg, it was the roadie and tech for Circus, the band Circus that was big on the Strip for a while. From Orange County that played guitar for us for a short time that ended up bailing to Mexico and starting like a glam metal band. It was also like a cover band and like made it kind of big down there. The way we found those guys was we first had Mick Wicked and Kid Chaos from HP helped us write and record some songs to make a demo tape, but they didn't want to actually be in the band. So we used the demo tape to attract these other guitar players and get our drummer. Then we ended up getting this guy, Paul Spraggins, who was this great-looking blonde English guy who was going to school at Guitar Institute in Hollywood. He was like an amazing glam metal version of Yngwie Malmsteen. And we went back in the studio to spruce up the demo, and he did some leads on it. But then he ended up moving to Orange County. He joined the band Brat Prince, and then he died.
And then what happened?
Things fell apart between me and Greg Burial. I ended up running an ad in the recycler, and I found Rat to replace him on the bass. And then Jerry Gittleson connected me and Rat with Richie Dagger and Billy Mayhem. And we had a meeting at the Rainbow, and we decided to team up. And I was like, okay, but you know, you can bring some of your songs along, but we're going to stick with the name Revlon Red. And they were like, okay, that's fine. We got our first real show at the Whiskey No Bozo Jam, playing with the Purple Haired Zeros and Heartthrob Mob and the Fizzy Bangers. Right out the gate, we were playing with like the cream of the crop of the local glam rock bands on the Strip. And the rest is history. We climbed our way up the ladder.
Chaos is a ladder.
We played tons of direct support slots for big crowds all over, you know, up and down the coast and in other towns. We even played in Vegas and Phoenix with tons of big name bands at the direct support slot. Met all of them, partied with them, hung out with Vince Neil. Party with Sebastian Bach, met Gene Simmons, lived the rock star lifestyle, without actually being on MTV and having major label deal where we ended up owning some record label, hundreds of thousands of dollars for the rest of our lives.
Well, at least we were in the net zero movement.
Made some fat cash off of that.
And a Swedish sleaze scene that wasn't for you, and them like studying you, there would be no Swedish sleaze scenes. Hated Jenna. Basically, and followed you wherever you went for who to be.
Hell yeah, be buddies about shit.
Here's a question Layla had, and that is, she wants to know about your whole situation with KORN.
Well, KORN was basically, you know, my writing partner in Lost Energy magazine that I brought into my column, Prince of Darkness. He had the heads up on the whole metal, KORN type scene and all that early on. And, you know, turned me onto it.
Plus the fucking message is bomb.com.
As you know, we've discussed before, you know, I was there in the early days of KORN. I was there going to Tool in the early days of Tool. Not quite the same music, but I was also there in the very early days of Jane's Addiction, all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Watching those bands, writing about those bands, like before hardly anyone else was.
Whatever.
Went to the early KORN show. They were kind of getting big by then. There was maybe 500 people at the show. That night or whatever, and went to their place afterwards, and we're hanging out partying by the swimming pool, hanging out with them, you know, and turns out like Jonathan's like, wait a minute, dude, aren't you the guy that sings for that glam band named after the lipstick or whatever? I'm like, yeah, Revlon Red, yeah, that's it, Revlon Red, the lipstick band. Dude, our guitar player, Marky, he loves you guys, dude. He goes to see you guys play at the Coconut Teaser, those Glitter Glam Fest nights or whatever. I'm like, what? And I call him over. He's like, oh, dude, you're the singer for Revlon Red. No way, I've seen you much time. I love you guys. You guys remind me of like early Motley Crue. I never even knew there were any bands around that were like that anymore. You know what I mean? Until I heard about you guys and stuff, you know? And same story with the drummer from Flotsam and Jetsam. I had a girlfriend that I met on tour when I was out playing with Revlon Red in Phoenix, Arizona. I had met her before when she had come with Psycho Gypsy from Phoenix. They'd come out to play at the Teaser, and I'd met her. So when I went out there, I re-met her and ended up hooking up with her, and I stayed in Phoenix because it was the last date of the tour, and I ended up staying at her house, and I moved in with her for 6 months. Her name was Dawn. We started going to watch Flotsam and Jetsam play, and I had met Eric H.A. once or twice when he played in L.A. or whatever before. She was good friends with him and his wife, so she reintroduced me, and then I was like, yeah, I met you before, like in Orange County, that one time you guys played at that place. Oh, yeah, I remember you, dude. Oh, our drummer, like, he lives in North Hollywood, and he flies out to Phoenix to rehearse when we go do shows. The last time he lives in North Hollywood, he goes to see your band play at that Glitter Glam Fest at that Teaser Club out there, and they called him over, oh, you're the guy, dude, you're the singer for Revlon Red, yeah, I love you guys, I see you guys all the time, man. I was always like, you know, how come you didn't ever, like, come up and introduce yourself and say hi? Well, because it was your night, dude, you know, and you're the star. I wasn't trying to come up and say, hey, I'm in KORN, or I'm in Flotsam and Jetsam.
Whatever.
Same story with Phil Lewis. During the era when LA Guns kind of, like, wasn't around anymore for a while. Yeah. And Phil Lewis was, like, strung out and drunk all the time and using and whatnot. He would, like, be sitting in the back row at when we would play, like, at little dive bars, like 14 Below in Santa Monica, or he'd be back there getting totally loaded with a couple of chicks or whatever watching our band, and someone would say, like, hey, man, Phil Lewis is sitting all the way in the back of that booth checking you guys out. He said he loves you guys, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we'd go talk to him. You're like, oh, man, you guys are great. You know? Yeah, funny story. You know, there's some funny stories. So, we definitely made an impact, and we had a good time doing it. We definitely had sort of a punk edge. We were kind of going for, because we didn't end up doing the whole, like, full-on glam metal, but heavier on the metal edge side of things, and instead it became more of like a glam metal punk crossover band. We ended up going for more of like a Hammer Rocks type of a vibe instead, and even more bubblegummy than that. We had songs that were kind of like Toy Dolls and Dickies type stuff or whatever, you know, mixed with glam or whatever. Power pop, Cheap Trick. We used to cover Cheap Trick songs, stuff. You know, I don't regret any of it. It was great. It wasn't really exactly what I wanted to do, but, you know, when you're in a band, sometimes you got to compromise with the other band members. You know, it's not just your band; it's everybody's band, so everybody has to have an input. And then sometimes it doesn't always go exactly the direction you want it to. But, you know, it was cool. It was fun. We had a good time. We lost a few friends. You know, I personally lost a few friends and fans from, you know, the punk, goth, and metal scene along the way because of it, because they just couldn't understand that it wasn't selling out. In fact, it was just the opposite. I was heading into a scene that was headed into the underground, and I went in there and took it over. Not my band by itself or the only band. There were other bands that were just as big, if not bigger than us, that were alongside us, but, you know, we were one of the main ones in Hollywood that quickly climbed up the ladder and took over as far as the local level underground glam scene.
Issue number 19 of Lost Anarchy magazine.
Oh yeah!
By the way, this issue has more nudity than you can ask for.
Watch videos of people on YouTube reacting to fucking YouTube.
Coming soon to both Lost Anarchy magazine and Get Watch Mojo channels. We got some badass graphic novel reviews. And of course, I'd like to make a shout out to our patron, Count Moribond. My homie from the Rainbow. I'm not gonna say what he does, but this guy is badass. Check out his channel. He does a lot of stuff on satanic poetry and other satanic Bible studies. And also a shout out to one of our other newer patrons, Janitor Jay. I've been a fan of his for years, and
talk about nostalgia, huh?
And of course, shout out to our usual patrons, Ryan Zacher and the Fly Attractor. Later, bitches. check out our Patreon, linked in the description as you can tell, and support our cause. We don't get paid for this shit.
Shit.